Over in the U.S., a big political event is just around the corner. And our political correspondent, Lee Si-hoo, joins us in the studio to talk about the potential impact of the presidential election on South Korea. First, Si-hoo, what do predictions look like?
Yes, so it's an exceptionally close race to the White House. The latest polls show Harris and Trump neck and neck in many states, and narrow victories in just a handful of what are called battleground swing states will likely determine the winner. A recent national poll by Reuters and Ipsos shows the Democrats ahead by a single percentage point over the Republicans, 44% to 43%. Other polls also show either Harris or Trump win, but basically in a statistical tie considering the margin of error.
And how will the overall outcome of the election impact the U.S. trade policies on South Korea?
Right, so I've spoken with a number of experts on this, and they say this in comment. Under the Trump administration, many uncertainties and a continuation of Biden policies under Harris. Trump insists on the America First policy as he had during his previous term. Let's listen in to a trade expert analysis.
In the case of Trump, regardless of whether it's isolationism or nationalism, it's a form of national priority that doesn't really consider the alliance. So Trump may impose high tariffs on all cars. South Korea and the other allies cooperate in the battery supply chain, and we can sell the US, for example, our positive electoral materials we produce, but Trump may not really keep in consideration this kind of alliance.
While Trump's policy is probably applicable in all sectors, Harris and the Democrats, based on their previous stance in the Biden administration, will likely focus on a few selected areas for cooperation.
Well, Harris and the Democrats value the alliance, and we are an ally of the US. Although the US emphasizes domestic production in certain sectors for national profit, the US does cooperate in other sectors when it's needed.
Dr. Cho explains such sectors include cutting-edge semiconductor technologies and electric cars. Now, in terms of the security alliance, Trump in his campaign has repeatedly called for greater financial input from the Korean government. The Korea Institute for Industrial Economics and Trade predicts South Korea could expect not only an increase in defense costs, but also less cooperation in defense and weapons technologies.
And Si-hoo, what changes do we expect in terms of foreign and diplomatic policies on the Korean Peninsula?
So as with the trade policies, we expect to see Harris put in more effort into improving the ROK-US alliance, which is especially crucial right now when North Korea is deploying its soldiers to help Russia in its war efforts.
So I think we're going to expect to see that further continue under a Harris administration. But I think they're really going to be working towards how to optimize the ROK-US alliance to deal with this unprecedented challenge by North Korea in Russia and their collaboration.
Dr. Lee explains there may also be more multilateral partnerships with other U.S. allies, including Australia and Canada, who may come together in the absence of a UN Security Council member from Russia. But in case of a Trump win, there may be a, quote, big demand.
We will obviously expect a massive crisis in cost-sharing negotiations. President Trump has been very clear that he does not think the current arrangement is satisfactory. On the campaign trail, he's talked about $5 billion, even $10 billion in terms of special measures agreement renegotiations. So there's going to be a very big demand coming.
And Trump's North Korea policies may depend on how Kim Jong-un and the regime approach the new administration.
It really depends on whether Kim Jong-un approaches him with flattery or with, fire and fury and more nuclear, threats. So I think that will really depend, but that will shape and take place within what Russia and China are already doing. So it's not going to be happening in a vacuum, I think.
How will Seoul respond once the new administration launches?
Right, so experts suggest that the key to making this coming change an opportunity for South Korea, obviously, is to create areas where South Korea becomes irreplaceable. That may be in technologies or products that South Korea leads globally, and use the strength to make it hard for any administration to impose restrictions, but instead encourage investments in South Korea. This kind of leverage can also influence our diplomatic relations, where much of its part is intertwined with trade policies. We could also initiate preemptive talks with the U.S. government to negotiate the schedule for potential export restrictions and exemptions.
All right, thank you, Shihu. Do keep us updated.
Thank you, Jung-min.